right, we're welcome and we're live. Charlie Sapanaro, dear friend, longtime karate guy, but more importantly, a phenomenal father, husband, and dear friend. Welcome to the show, Charlie.
Thank you. Great to be here. Honored to be here, honestly. You're one of my favorites, Paul.
Thank you. You're the best. So I'm going to call you a serial entrepreneur. Since the day I met you, you were living in downtown Boston, and you were kind of looking out your window in your small apartment with a little desk, and we were talking, and I don't think you were working at the time. You were in between shifts of working, and you've done so much in your life. How old are you now?
52.
You're still a baby, but you've done a lot in your life, and so excited to have you share some of those things for our audience to try to connect the entrepreneurial mindset with the black belt mindset. Obviously, you're a black belt. You've done a phenomenal job in martial arts for many years. Hope to have you back, by the way. But resiliency, fall down, get back up. You pivot, you adapt, you modify, you change. And those are some of the traits of an entrepreneur and some of the traits of what we would call a black belt mindset. So let's dive into your story. So tell us a little bit about growing up. What was that like? Where did you grow up?
Yes, sure. So I grew up in Massachusetts. I was born in Natick. And then
Doug Flutie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Actually used to go see him play at the Thanksgiving high school games.
At Natick High School?
Yeah, Natick High School.
And I graduated, I think you knew this, at Boston College. We graduated together. I was 81 to 85. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great 4 years there.
I'll bet. Yeah, great. Yeah. So lived there until around 1980, 81. And then my dad, who was also kind of an entrepreneur, he had a bunch of small businesses. He bought another business in Franklin, Mass., which at that time no one even knew where Franklin was. And so it was like an old mill town. And so we moved there, and I grew up there through high school.
Oh, really?
Yep.
What type of businesses were your dad involved?
So he owned a couple of tire stores, and he owned a gas station, and then he actually opened up an electronics store too in the late 80s, early 90s. Where they did sound systems, they did early cell phones, car stereos, stuff like that.
With the cell phones, those big...
Oh, yeah, the bags, the whole deal. Yeah.
That was my first cell phone in the bag, and you plug it into your cigarette lighter.
Yeah, so
oh
he was big into electronics and stuff like that. And then he died in a plane crash my senior year of high school in 91. And so, but yeah, grew up there, and then went to college at the University of Vermont.
UVM?
Yep.
Great school.
And I was a political science major there, and really didn't know anything.
Did we all? Did any of us know?
Yeah.
When so you grew up then. How old were you when your dad passed?
It was 2 weeks before my 18th birthday.
All right, so you were young, but you still had the opportunity to see that entrepreneur side of him, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up around it. I didn't think about it at the time, but he had multiple small businesses, and that was just what he did. And so I would work in the businesses when I was young.
Oh, cool.
Do the shittiest job available. Low man on the totem pole, and do whatever was available. And like on my days off, he would wake me up and make me come work for him. And what I didn't realize is that at that time he was really teaching me hard work. And that was something that was always revered within our family, being a hard worker. People talk about being a hard worker and how important that was.
A lot of people that we have on the show, these resonating themes kind of germinate through each show. And a lot of it comes back to a parents, someone in their life at a young age that really created that energy, mindset, whether it be entrepreneur, whether it be something else. It sounds like your father kind of had a big impact on you.
Yeah, I guess he did. It's funny. I've thought about it a few times, but I've never connected those two dots of. It's funny because like you said, you're kind of a serial entrepreneur, and I don't think of myself that way, but I've been involved in a lot of different things.
Oh, I know you have.
How I'm wired.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure he influenced me in a number of ways that I probably didn't even think about.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So you go to college, you go to high school, then you go to college, you go to UVM, you're a political science major. And, you know, when people think of political science, they'll say, okay, we're going to talk about government, you're going to different branches of court systems and how different, you know, governments of the world may act or react. I don't want to say it's a universal major because my son was a political science major and my wife also. So, what made you get into political science?
You know, first of all, I had no idea what to do.
Yeah, who does,
and
right?
I didn't really have anyone to talk to about it or to give me guidance. And that's not a, poor me or anything.
No.
But I always thought that the study of kind of organizations was interesting. And so I was a sociology minor, which is, kind of how do people react and whatnot. And so I didn't think about that consciously at the time. I think in hindsight, if I could go back, I probably would have been a business major. I probably would have enjoyed that. But those are the two areas that I was kind of attracted to.
Yep.
And then I think, I worked when I was in college, part-time jobs here and there. And then I think I was part of a group of guys and we started a local fraternity. We started a chapter of a national fraternity.
You started your own.
Yeah. It was a national, house, but we started a local chapter.
Okay.
And, that was kind of my first experience, I think, at trying to put some organization to something that I've really kind of enjoyed.
Yeah. So, and again, as I look at you and listen to you talk and some of the other guests, another common theme is they've initiated different things, whether it be at school, whether it be in the community or whatever. So was there always that drive to create, or it was just because the group of guys you were with? What was that like? I'm just so interested in that.
So I think I certainly, I wasn't the spark to get it started.
Okay.
It was a bunch of guys said, hey, we're thinking about doing this. And I was like, yeah, I'm in. And then what happened was most of the guys from my class my contemporaries or friends went abroad junior year. And, I wasn't able to do that. And so I kind of stepped into this president role. And I think we were at a kind of a critical point where we needed to put a little more structure and organization to things. And so I really kind of took that ball, I felt like, and
So you had an opportunity. They were away.
Yeah.
You didn't go
And,
for whatever reason.
I think for me, kind of putting organization and structure to things is something that I've come to really enjoy.
Cool. That was your junior year.
Yeah.
And what did you do after college?
So got out of school and had no clue.
Like everybody else,
like
right?
everybody else, exactly. That's what I tell my kids. I'm like I don't know what I want to do.
Unless you're going to be a doctor or in a lab or
Yeah.
something that's so specific.
And one of the big things, I didn't even know what avenues there were. Like I didn't even know what different professions there were. I knew some from a high level, and so I wanted to make money, and I thought that was most important. And so, I had good people skills, and so someone convinced me I should go into sales.
You're
And
22, 23, whatever you are.
So my first job I wound up getting was a John Hancock office.
Don't tell me life insurance.
100%. But they told me it was going to be selling financial planning.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was like,
Sounded
all right.
good. Sounded good.
Sounded really good.
Yeah.
So I get in there, and then they're like, well, we really want you selling long-term care insurance to basically old people, and making 150 cold calls a day, and I did it. I did it for probably 6 months there, and then another company that I had interviewed with had reached back out doing financial planning. This firm, Bay State Financial, which has now become a lot bigger, and so I left the John Hancock, went to Bay State, and was similar type of gig where it was just cold calling.
That's tough,
trying
isn't
to
it?
sell people. I wanted to sell financial planning, but they really wanted you selling insurance. And so did that for about a year and just realized this, was not for me.
So you were in the trenches, just basically calling and trying to sell.
And this is before, this is 1996, right? So there's no computers or
Oh,
anything.
boy.
So it's, you're calling people on a card, you're putting it back in the system. It's all paper and pen. And then from there, I left and I got a job at this firm, Boston Capital, which was a real estate investment firm in Boston.
Oh, cool.
And so they were selling tax credit properties, and it was an inside wholesaling job. So my job was to literally, smile and dial, bang the phones, and set up appointments for an outside salesperson who
to
was
do
in
the
a
job.
territory who would go meet with these stockbrokers and things like that to try to sell their product, which was a tax credit fund.
So how did you go from political science, sociology, organization, people skills? You said it was the money? You wanted to make money? Like what?
I just want to make money, and I didn't know what to do. And so I was like, I want to be in finance. And so first, originally, I thought like working as a financial planner would be finance. And then I wound up at Boston Capital, which was an investment firm. It's a great firm, and I got tremendous training there. Really good, just business skills. And I was happy there. I was there a little over a year.
Okay.
And a buddy of mine who was a commercial real estate broker downtown Boston, he said, hey, listen, I just showed these guys some property, and they're a venture capital firm, and they're looking for a young guy who knows finance, who can kind of go out and raise money and find deals. And I thought you'd be, a good candidate. And so I was like, yes, I don't really even know what venture capital is, but
Yeah, so tell the audience, what is that about, venture capital?
so venture capital is essentially it's a type of investment firm that focuses on early stage businesses, and generally they'll get investments from investors, whether it's high net worth investors or institutional investors, into a fund that they will invest in a number of companies. And so it can be various stages. It can be seed round, which is just startup money, to Series A, Series B. This company, they were doing pretty early stage, not seed capital, but businesses that had already been started. And this was now in the late 90s. So it was the dot-com era, but, small firm. And they brought me in and interviewed me. And there's one partner there who, he liked me, but, I think that literally it was like 15 interviews or something. It was like a 12-person firm. And they would give me, deal books and say, go study this and come pitch us on the deal book.
Holy cow.
But I didn't know anything. Like I literally didn't know what revenue was.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you like you said in college and whatever, even when you were at John Hancock, you really didn't have the financial skill background, right?
No.
How'd you get hired?
Anything. I just, it was just perseverance and hard work. So, I was just unstoppable. I would,
Tell us about
reach
that.
out to these guys and call them and follow up. And I was professional, and they would give me stuff, and I would study it and study it and study it, and just would do whatever it took to get my foot in the door. And they ended up giving me a job there. And so my original position was they were doing private placements, which is essentially, like, we need to raise $2 million for this company that we're going to back, because they didn't have a fund at first. And so myself and 3 other guys at the time would reach out to people to try to raise money, mostly high net worth individuals, family offices, corporations. So we would get a company, and we were like, we need to raise $2 million. So we would go out and knock on doors, and not physically, but call people. And they had a pretty big database of investors and people, and raise the money. And we did that for a number of companies, and they were good companies. So one of them became what's called Constant Contact today. They're a local publicly traded company. So I worked on the first early rounds of that before it was called Constant Contact. Another big one was a company called Free Markets, which is no longer around, but that was a huge flyer in the late 90s.
Wow.
And so that was a really great experience, because I was meeting with all these entrepreneurs, these companies that were looking for capital, and then meeting with these high net worth investors and family offices, and just learning so much, just learning.
So you're learning a lot, you're getting a lot of experience, but what's piercing through all of this is this perseverance, the ability not to say no. You really didn't have a lot of financial background.
No.
Where did that come from? I mean, have you ever thought of that? Because, I mean, we talked about this on the way over. It's like, you're younger than 10 years younger, but that cookie cutter mentality of, growing up, going to school, going to college, getting out of college, staying in a job for 30 plus years, collecting a pension, doing whatever was the era that I grew up in. You're younger, but it's still part of that era. Like yours is so unconventional.
Yeah, and it's funny because even at that time, I mean, the venture capital firm I was working at was kind of a third tier firm. Like
Third tier.
Yeah, I mean, in order for me to stay in that industry, I would have to go back to business school.
Okay.
And not just any business school. At that time, you would have to go to Harvard Business School or Stanford or
Oh, really?
a Sloan to work in that industry. They wouldn't even hire anyone. That's changed today. But I also always felt this attraction to the other side of the table. So to the entrepreneurs, to the people who were building the companies. And so after 3-4 years at that firm, I actually transitioned out to one of the portfolio companies and worked with them for a bit. And that was, I wanted to really build something, to focus on something.
Like from ground up, or
No, they were already an established business. Not established, but they had been backed. They had a great technology, and they were trying to really take it to market. And so I thought that this was going to be a great opportunity. And so I actually moved to New York City and was going to start working with the company, started working with the company. And then the company kind of ran out of funding. And
I remember when you moved to New York City.
Yeah. And that was in 2000.
What was that experience like?
It was fun. I was there for about a year.
It was fun. I know. I bet it was.
Was there during 9/11, saw that whole thing happen.
Oh.
Was like
So you were
close.
there?
Yeah,
right
I
there?
saw the second plane hit. It was right near my apartment, which is crazy. And so anyway, the partner that had hired me at that firm had left and gone to another firm. And so he kept calling me and saying, "Hey, why don't you come back to Boston and come work for me at this new firm?" And it's, I don't know if that's what I want to do. But at the same time, my wife now, we had been together, we broke up, and I really decided I need
That's
to
a
get
great
back to
story in
Boston.
and of itself. I remember that. Yep.
So went back to Boston and joined this other firm.
What
And
kind of firm?
It was, more of kind of like a private equity type of firm.
Yep.
So they were investing in companies that were already more established and generating revenue and profitable. So still early stage, but they weren't, no revenue or seed
Right. It
stage.
wasn't a startup.
Yeah.
And again, another financial.
I thought that was the path. I really did, But so I was there for a few years, and again, just great experience. Met so many smart, successful people, from entrepreneurs to people who have been in finance, and just great people, and learned a ton. And here I was again. I'm at this kind of inflection point where I'm like, do I go back to school and try to get my MBA, which I really didn't want to do, but I also recognize that, I'm in these firms that are kind of second, third tier, and if I really want to go to the next level, I'll need that piece of paper. And so I was kind of at this inflection point where I wasn't sure what to do, and I still had this entrepreneurial drive.
Yeah. Were you nervous?
Well, the other thing is I wasn't making money at any of these places.
So you were, yeah.
So here I am working in these great industries where, people can make a lot of money, but,
But you weren't.
I wasn't, right? And so I realized I'm like, something's got to change here.
So that was you call an inflection point. What was the switch? So let's call it the black belt switch, where the light went on and you go, listen, I got to do X. Did you ever have that point? Obviously you did.
Yeah.
When was that?
So I would say it was, there's been a few of those, actually.
Oh, good. So more than one.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Definitely more than one. But this was one where I was at this second firm.
Right, in Boston.
And I'm like, this just isn't working. And, sometimes it's just serendipity, like the universe sends you something. So I had a buddy of mine from college, and my fraternity brothers, calls me up and he says, "Hey, do you have, John's phone number. You know, I know this guy, and he's looking for someone that I think could be a good fit for him. I was like, well, what is it? and he's like, well, you know, it's this company, and they've done a bunch of acquisitions, and they want someone to come in and be the acquisition guy to go out and buy other companies for them to, you know, help them grow. And they're backed by private equity, and you know, the founder and owner is a great guy, and I was like, I'm interested.
Ding, 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 ding,
And
ding.
so he introduced me, met with the CEO and founder. And you know, it's just funny. You never know where life's going to take you, right? The different avenues.
So do you, and again, these themes keep resonating. You know, people say, you say serendipity, people say right time, right place, luck, and whatever. But I have this strong feeling that when people continue to push, continue to move, and push that envelope, try to be better people, better, you know, whether it be personally, professionally, or whatever it is, they get that drive and passion. Opportunities kind of just seem to come your way.
Well, the harder I work, the luckier I get, right? You know, and that's, you know, if you want to draw an analogy to martial arts, like, okay, do one more rep. Right?
One more rep. Let's see what happens,
one
right?
more rep, right? And just like you keep doing that repetition, keep doing it, and you start getting better and better, right? And you start to see new things.
And it's the basics, right? You knew
Right.
it from martial arts. You know, I mean, it sounds like you knew it from business too. As you keep going, you keep going, you keep going, and attraction builds,
Yeah, 100%.
right? So, did you get that job?
So I did, and this company was based in Connecticut.
Oh boy!
And so this was 2003, and at that time, no one worked remotely, right? But I said to the CEO, I was like, look, I'm not gonna, you know, move to Connecticut, but I'll come down, you know, once, twice a week. I was in Waterbury, which is a little bit of a hike.
Waterbury, Connecticut. Yeah.
And plus, my job should mainly be on the road, going to visit other businesses. But
Yeah.
here again, I didn't know anything about doing M&A.
You just dove in, right?
I didn't know. I'd never done.
I love that. I love that
You know,
because
acquisition.
yes,
I didn't know how to
yes,
do models. Or any of this stuff.
yes.
And so I went in there, and he literally was like, "Here's a laptop and a phone. Like, go buy companies." And
Did he allow you not to stay in Boston?
He allowed me to stay in Boston.
Now that was unheard of. Would you say 2003, 2000?
Yeah,
Unheard
2003.
of.
Yeah.
Like now it seems to be the norm. We can
Right.
get in a whole discussion whether or not, you know, what
So
your
that's
opinion
right
on-
around so I was in between when you mentioned, you know, you were kind of working from home. That was right around, that was 2003, 4, I think, was when you and I reconnected, because we had seen each other through Stephen Talia at, you know, different events.
Is that
And
when you
that
started
was-
taking the subway from Boston
exactly.
to the dojo in East Boston?
Yep. So I had an office downtown, and I would kind of sneak out on my lunchtime and go do lessons in
Oh
East
my
Boston.
God.
Yeah.
I remember that like yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you find that, you know, because this is such a, you know, during COVID with the remote, now this, I mean, that brings up a whole bunch of issues that you and I could talk about for 10 different shows. Did you find that even though you did it for maybe other reasons, like I went from New York to Boston, I rekindled with my wife, I'm not moving to Connecticut now, and did you get a lot done? Were you able to get a lot done? Answer is yes, because I know you, but how did that remote experience differ from going into the job?
You know,
Workplace.
it was hard at times, you know, because I was alone. You're alone a lot.
Yeah, and you're a people person.
Yeah, 100%. But I also was just so determined and focused, and so I was just, you know, calling companies, getting on a plane, and you know, I did 16 acquisitions in like 3 years from just nothing, and didn't know what I was doing, but learned pretty quickly. And I had a great mentor, this guy AJ, who was the CEO, and a great team, and they really taught me. And what I didn't realize at the time was, I had gotten into this stream with the investors, the private equity investors, who were phenomenal people and really, really well respected. And so I was there 4 years and the company got sold.
Okay.
But it was a great run for 4 years. And we ended up doing, I think, in that period, over 20 acquisitions.
Wow. Wow.
And then the company was acquired by Iron Mountain. But I learned so much from the people I was working with. And I was on a plane every week. I mean, every week? Every week. I would just go pick a state, and I'd find as many businesses as I could meet with.
I love it.
And I would go down, build relationships, and and it was very successful.
You mentioned the word mentorship, and again, I hate to sound corny, but it's really the reality, right? And some of us have had mentors or multiple mentors at different stages in our lives, and I know you're a huge proponent of that. And whether it was that gentleman or other people, how important do you think mentoring is, or having a mentor for you as part of your success?
I think it's, well, I don't think I had many, honestly.
Okay.
You know, I wish I had more. You know, this one, he's still a good friend to this day. And I see him quarterly. He's a pretty big professor at Yale Business School now.
Wow.
And, you know, he's a good friend. But, you know, I think mentors are so important. And, you know, it's not always an obvious person either.
Right.
Right. So, but, you know, I think you also have to be open to mentorship.
100%. So I was going to get into ego, right? So in martial arts, we know a lot of people have egos, right? But people have egos in every profession too. So your ability to be open to that, like, tell us a little bit about that, because that's huge.
Yeah. And you know, I don't know if I was consciously open, but I think I didn't have a lot of egos. I don't think I did. And I also don't think that, I think I absolutely knew what I didn't know.
You knew what you didn't know.
Yeah. And these guys, you know, this guy AJ and the other guys on the team, they were so smart and they so experienced. So I knew when to shut up and listen.
Yeah.
And if not, they would tell me, you know. They were literally, I can remember they brought me into a board meeting with the investors and then another meeting where I think I might have made a few wisecracks because I was a bit of a smart ass when I was younger, maybe not just younger.
Yeah.
And literally he's like, hey, listen, you know, stop making wisecracks. It's not professional.
Yeah, it sounds like they were real.
Yeah.
They were real people, right?
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Okay. So then the company gets sold after 4 years, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you did 20 or so acquisitions. Yeah. Okay. And then, so where are we in your career, life, age? Where are we?
So now I'm married. I have one daughter. And
you're married to a very successful woman, and a very
very fortunate there. That's honestly, you know, finding the right partner, life partner, is such an important thing, and I've been very lucky with that.
She's supportive of what you do, because she's kind of get the steady employment. So
she's just always been supportive of me, you know, and the different risks I've taken and things like that. You know,
you are a risk taker, and that's why I was trying to get into you about being nervous or not, like a lot of people will, whether we call it nerves, apprehension, like whatever it is, see that as like the monster out there. Right. When in fact, like anxiety and you know, checked anxiety, obviously, but and some fear. And like I had Kathy Long on, the famous 5-time world kickboxing champion, and she said, fear was my motivator. And I looked at her like, that's an interesting way to look at it. Right. I had someone else say, fear was great. I embraced it. Right. So how did you're definitely a risk taker. So but you're also a very feeling guy. So you must feel something when you just go, I'm going to try this. I'm going to look at that.
Yeah. I also forgot to mention I bought a tanning salon while I was working in private equity too.
A tanning salon. Yeah. Now that's like way out of the box. Yeah. Now, when was that?
That was when was that? That was
like
2001 or something like that.
So were you working, or you just
Oh
said,
yeah. I was working in that private equity shop,
okay,
and
in Boston?
yeah,
Okay.
and I still I had this entrepreneurial vibe.
Yeah.
And so my buddy and I have been talking about buying businesses, and so we're looking at
I
different
love that.
companies, and then I was like, geez, these tanning salons have great margins, and there's tons of them. And they're not really.
They were then.
They were then, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's buy one and see if it's good.
Was it in
business.
Boston, or?
Yeah, it was right downtown Boston. We were the official tanning salon for the Celtics dancers.
Get out.
Yeah,
I remember that. I think I went there once. I did go
Yeah.
there once. I
Yeah.
remember it. Yes.
Yeah.
So whatever. Oh my God, I do remember that.
Yeah, Tan Works. Yeah. So we owned that, and I would had that on the side. It didn't make a whole lot of money with it, but
You learned a lot.
learned a lot. Yeah. And so, yeah. So I guess that was probably some risk as well.
Do you think that people? So how do you It didn't make a lot of money, and obviously it didn't make it, right? You sold it.
No, we sold it.
You sold it because, for whatever reason, it wasn't giving you what you needed it to, whether it be financially or whatever, right?
So I sold that when I got into working at the record storage business, which is one of the acquisitions.
Okay.
Yeah, because I it just wasn't really doing what we thought it would do.
Right.
And I realized I needed to focus in this new area.
But the mindset, though, Charlie, is people will buy a business. It wasn't what they thought it was going to be. Even if it wasn't your primary job, they'd see that as failure.
Right.
How does an entrepreneur like you see those? I would see it as a learning experience and growth, but a lot of people
So I
see
think
it as,
for me, I definitely am a risk taker, but I'm also extremely methodical.
so you know when to say,
Yeah, I'm like,
This
all
is
right,
it.
this is the the risk and the reward potential and the downside, and
don't you see so many people, whether it be friends or just acquaintances or people that they're in a business and it's losing money or just making money, just breaking even,
Right.
and it can't support and do whatever, but they keep on going
yeah.
out of, I think it's
Well, you get trapped in that loop too, right?
the cycle, right?
And and I think that also I was really fortunate in that early in my career when I worked in venture capital and private equity, I just learned what are good businesses, what are bad businesses, right? What are the fundamentals, that are important.
So what would you say to the basic small business owner that, big business is big business, but we, owning martial arts schools myself and having other, coaching platforms and doing some other stuff, a lot of work, a lot of pride, but at the end of the day, it's difficult to shut doors and stuff. And during COVID, as you know, and during that tough time, a lot of small businesses couldn't make it or tried to make it and couldn't, and then came back and weren't like they were before, but still had to try to hang on. When do you say enough is enough? That's tough, right?
I mean, there's certainly financial metrics, right? Where if you're not making money, that's certainly one. But the hard thing about a smaller business is that you're oftentimes, as they say, you're working, in the business and not on the business.
True.
So you're doing everything. Right?
Oh,
You're
God,
probably
I
not
remember
great at
that.
delegating, and you're the main everything. Right? It's Paul Cervizzi. It's Cervizzi's martial arts, right? It's all about you.
It's all about me.
Right? And so I think, what you want to try to have with a business is not have it be about you as much as you can. And that's hard. Right?
It's very
Especially
hard.
with small businesses because there's relationships and people come for you. But you really got to build those systems so that it's not about you and the business can run as a business. Right? That also will create value for your company, right?
You know this. We've talked about this. I opened up a small school in Winthrop in 1995, and like you said, it was I was the instructor, I was the marketer, I was the supply purchaser,
Right.
I was the greeter at the door, I was the therapist, I was this, I was that, And, you come to a point, this very well, you come to a point, it's like, what am I doing? Like, it's not, the systems aren't there, as you said.
Right.
And the strategies aren't there. A book, I don't know if you've heard the book Who Not How, but it's a great, great little take. I'll send it to you. But it's just like what we're talking about is so many people get caught up and it's like, I, I can't do that. How am I going to do that?
Right.
Instead of, well, I can't do it, but who can I get to do it? Right? That's not my expertise. I like technology. Forget it.
Right.
Right?
Well, you got to figure out where you add the most value.
Well, that's another point, right? Where's your value point?
Yeah.
My value and your value isn't doing X.
Right.
But a lot of people say, well, I don't get, like, I do this coaching on the side to help small businesses, martial arts schools kind of create those systems and have them in place. And, I don't have the money to do that. All right. This, and I get it. But at the same time, there's other ways that you can delegate, whether it be through interns or whether it be through, people.
Now, I mean, you can fractional. You've got offshore. Now you got AI,
Virtual assistants, AI.
People,
So that comes up all the
Upwork,
time.
There's a million ways to delegate if you don't have a large P&L.
Right.
Hire tons of people.
Because
But
payroll
you
gets
just
busy.
got to think that way, and I didn't, I took me a while to learn that.
So you just mentioned a really hot topic of AI, right?
Yeah.
So and we talked about this a little bit about what your next venture is in the process of doing. So before we get to what you're doing, tell me about this AI stuff. Tell me about technology. You have two, not young anymore, but two daughters, one in high school, one in college, that are living in a different world than you were growing up in high school and college, and certainly different than I was growing up in college. Like, where do you see this technological, I don't want to call it a takeover, but whatever it is, like pros and cons? You got young kids, you got kids your age, my kids' age, similar. Like, what do you think about this whole AI boom?
I mean, that's the billion or
Dollar question,
$1 trillion
right?
question, right?
Trillion,
I mean,
yeah, soon to be.
I think you can paint a lot of different pictures and avenues there. Do you want to be an optimist about it? Do you want to be doom and gloom? You can, easily paint different scenarios. I think that, just like kind of the underlying theme here in many ways is if you're going to be proactive about things. So if you look at AI as a tool that you can use to do things, it's almost unlimited.
Unlimited.
It's unlimited.
It's crazy.
Right?
I was watching. You probably said, "Yeah, that happened 10 years ago, Paul." But I was watching something, and there was, an actress or an actor, and I couldn't tell. Oh, well, that's an AI actor, actress. I'm
Right,
like, what?
right. Yeah.
Like, so where does that do for jobs? Where does that do for industries? They're talking about
it's gonna have major effects on everything. Right?
But what about jobs? And what about
you know,
coders and people like
Yeah.
in the computer businand
right. A lot of jobs are going to be changed or made obsolete, but the argument is there's new jobs that are created, right? And if you're someone who's entrepreneurial or is creative or proactive, you could take that AI and now you can, by a factor of 100, you can create new things, and it's, costs no money.
So there's the who, not how. Right now we got AI as the who,
Right.
and we can't say how can we do it now.
Right. So you can create. I mean, it's unlimited as to what you can create now using
And
AI.
it seems to be changing by the day. It's like I hear these AI voices, right? And a year ago it'd be like, oh, you can tell that's.
Yeah.
Now it's like, well, I'm not quite sure yet, and I know in like a week it's going to be something different.
Right.
It's like it's like the race.
Yeah.
So, from a business point, I get it. What about, from a kid's point of view? Like now, like we're putting this technology in the hands
It's
of
tricky.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
Yeah.
12-year-olds.
Yeah.
and you and I have a good idea about balancing, right? And
Right.
the yin yang effect.
I think, so I was fortunate when so I ended up with another business. We could talk about that. And I had a board of directors, and one of the guys on my board happened to be, it was a healthcare company. He was CEO of, at that time it was Leahy Health, so health system.
Big, yeah.
And great guy. But he was also one of the leading child psychiatrists like in the world. He teaches
Really?
at Harvard, and just a great guy, just a great guy. And so, I would go to board meetings and be like, Mike, what do I do about Santa? Like, Mike, what do I do about this? And so I asked him, this was years ago. It's like, Mike, what do I do about the internet and my kids?
The internet what?
The internet and my kids, right?
And your
this
kids?
was, like 10 years ago, maybe more. And now kids are getting devices and the internet, and it's like, how do you limit them?
I'm having
There's all
trouble
these apps.
turning on and changing my TV.
Yeah,
Never mind.
and so the analogy that he gave me that I thought was really on point, and he said, well, first of all, if you think you can keep them from it, you're naive. He's like, because they'd be in your house, but they see their friends or in school, like they're going to get
That's what I
access
mean.
to it,
Then they're ostracized, and then that leads
completely. That's a
to a
whole
whole other thing we could spend hours on.
But he said, if you think about it, like, when people lived in tribes, right? And let's say you're in the jungle and you've got your kids and you've got to teach them, when you're out in the jungle, don't go near the snake, don't go near the lion, right? And you're not always going to be there. And so the only thing that you can really do is just try to teach your kids right from wrong and educate them about general things, because they're going to be using AI. They're going to be out with friends and whatnot, whether it's the internet, AI. And so that's really the only way that you can handle that aspect of it. As far as what's going to happen to their careers, I mean, I've got a sophomore in college and junior in high school. My sophomore in college is trying to figure out what, major to
What the
take.
heck
And
is
I'm
that,
just
right?
like, I'm like,
How about it? Right, because now they have these AI majors or
if you
entrepreneurial
can
majors,
even get into them,
right?
right?
Oh, yeah, good point.
And so, lawyers, that's going to be routed. I mean, how much
how many
legal work can be? I've
paralegals,
used AI
right?
to redline contracts. They do a great job. It's free. Same thing with accounting. Traditional professions.
Yes.
Medicine's going to be impacted in a great way. I mean, you add on top of AI the robotics.
Right. I was just going to say.
So you combine those together. I mean, it's going to impact tons of different things.
I mean, they've been doing it for a long time now. Robotic surgeries for a long time. But we thought it was kind of isolated to like, oh, this is just surgery.
Right.
But now you're like, well, wait a minute. Cars are driving without people, and packages are being delivered by drones, and like it's a slippery slope, right?
But there's, I'm an optimist, so new things are created, and if you're not proactive on it and you're not embracing these things, then you're definitely going to not be in a good position
Financially. So do you
Just in
think like the
general.
small business or the big business, if they're not on this AI bandwagon, they're going to suffer?
It depends on what your business is.
Okay.
Right? If you're a hands-on business like an electrician or plumber or trades, AI is not going to stop a clogged pipe.
All right, so now you bring up a great point. There has been a drastic boom
Oh yeah.
in vocational schools, both on the high school level and also technically,
Trades, and
trade
private equity
av-
buying up HVAC companies,
okay.
landscaping companies.
So you and I both, and our kids both, have gone the traditional, and yours are going the traditional education route, whereby there's a whole segment of society that is really pushing, and maybe rightfully so, for a number of reasons. Not only for the guaranteed, like you said, you're not going to be taken over by technology. You can make a heck of a lot of money with your hands, right?
Yeah.
No school debt. I mean,
Right.
we don't, right? How much does it
Yeah.
cost to go to a private,
That's crazy.
even a public institution of higher learning? Picking majors that may be obsolete or are obsolete.
Right.
What do you think about this whole vocational boom?
I mean, look, I think we probably got into a system of everyone going to college, and not everyone probably needs to go to college. There's plenty of white collar jobs that you probably didn't need to go to college in order to do.
Well, we can look at a bunch of millionaire, billionaire people that either dropped out of college, never went to college,
Yeah.
dropped out of high school. You know who, you know.
Do I think higher education is good? Yeah, I think it teaches.
Why do you think it's good?
I think it teaches you critical thinking.
And what?
Well, you get exposed to different ways of thought and how to analyze things, look at things. I think you socially you meet people.
Yeah.
You get exposed. I think one of the nothing wrong with trades, but if you're going to pick a career at 18, you're 18, right? You don't really know what you know and don't know. And so, I think one potential downside to that is you could wake up and you're 25, right? And you're like, I don't like being a plumber. But that could happen if you're a lawyer too.
Right. So I had my kids on the show, my son and my daughter, and I asked this question because, like I said, these topics just keep on coming up, so obviously important, right? So when I asked about the traditional education piece, the answer from both was less about the classroom and more about what they learned about life, and that they wouldn't trade it for anything. Being on your own, having to be able to fend for yourself, whether it be with laundry or making decisions, critical thinking of being faced with two paths to take and which way do I go, the easy way or the hard way, but the right way.
Right.
Doing those type of things, which I found gratifying and satisfying of all the money that we spent to send them. It's like, all right, and thank God they're both doing very well, like yours will and are. So that was an interesting point too about learning about life and what that means. And the other thing that another guest had was she was a big proponent because she herself was a vocational high school and technical after, was learning how to think, like do everyday tasks that traditional education, since it really hasn't changed, right? Like writing a check and opening a bank account and doing those life skills that is so important that sometimes our kids get out and go,
well, look, I think that higher education could be doing a lot better job in those areas, especially for the amount of money you pay.
oof,
But that's a whole other conversation.
that's a whole nother conversation, right?
I mean, it's academia and how they run things, how they teach things,
Now
how
we
they spend their money. There's no other profession where you get tenure.
good point. Right? Tenure for life, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you do if you're on the court or whatever. I don't know. Some
you can get
courts.
fired.
Yeah, very difficult, but yeah. But no. I agree with you. And then
And
the
it's
whole
a not-for-profit.
yeah, exactly. And then the whole politicization of education. That's a whole nother area that we could get into. So tell us now. So AI is here to stay. It's steamrolling, whether we like it or not. Whether how we feel about it. That's that whole adapting, integrating, accepting, and figuring out how, what, where, when, and how, but also some parameters, whether it be for younger people or even ourselves in general, that it can't do everything, but it can do a lot. Tell us about this. I am so, we skipped the chapter and we'll go back to it from that equity and what you did and from tanning salons to the other, but tell us about the project that you found yourself in now. You told me you always had the itch for.
Yeah. So
As much as you can share, because I think it's really cool.
Yeah. So I've had this itch for a long time about you go someplace and you want to know what's going on, what there is to do, and there's no easy way to generally find that out.
When you say a place, what do you mean?
So let's say, you go to Falmouth.
Yep.
Right. So let's say that I go to Falmouth and let's say I'm going for the weekend and I'm like, what's there to do in Falmouth? Right. So, I mean, I can go on Google, I go on Boston.com sometimes, maybe Falmouth has a website, or there's social pieces, but there's no one central place that's going to find not only the main things that are going on, but kind of secondary and tertiary things that are going on. So it could be everything from, hey, there's, 8 different fishing charters.
Oh,
There's, 4 different yoga classes. There's 3 bands that are playing. We know that you like, jazz. There's a jazz brunch on Sunday. So essentially using AI agents to go out geographically and find all the different events and experiences that are going on in that one area, and then bringing them to you in a personalized fashion based on your likes.
wow. So on one platform, so you said that very efficiently, but let me see if I understand. So if I'm going to, say, Falmouth for the weekend, I love Falmouth, and it's easy to find out what, say, is going on, in another part of the Cape, say at the Cape Cod Melody Tent, or at another major venue on Cape Cod. That's easy, right? But if I wanted to know what type of craft fair in Woods Hole, or was there any craft fairs going on?
Or there are places that you could rent a boat. There's probably
Instead of walking down to the Falmouth Harbor.
there's a whole bunch of things probably to do in Falmouth and that greater area that you may or may not be aware of.
So you're really looking at the, I don't want to call it the secondary, what's the right word for it, but the places, the things to do, the whereabouts to do that may not get the headlines.
Correct. Yeah. So the things that, like you said, the Melody Tent in Hyannis.
Right.
They have concerts, and you can find that online
it's everywhere.
pretty easily through
Right.
StubHub or one of those. Maybe even. They might not even be on StubHub, but probably. But there's a whole bunch of other second and tertiary tier events and things that are going on that just don't get covered in one central place.
So it's like you got these Google
Yeah,
feelers or
these
internet
AI,
feel
these agents,
the
and you
AI
program
agents.
these agents, and they go out and they find these things, they scrub them, and they bring them together in one central application and present them to you based on your likes and needs. Like, you might not be interested in, pottery painting or something, right?
Yeah.
But you might be interested in like jet skis and archery.
So you said, yeah, right. So you said something about based on your likes and needs. Like,
Right.
what do you mean by that?
So, we can look at your profile through other apps or through, what you like and don't like when you're going through things,
Oh,
filters that you might fill out. And
is that from
create
your phone or your URL, or like where do you get that data?
a variety of places. I mean, they all get it from you now. Like, you're
Is
just
that
not aware of it. Yeah.
It's like you ever, well, of course, you're looking yourself. You and I have a conversation. Next thing you know, we turn on our cell phone and then we get a list of.
Right.
Oh,
Right, because it's listening, and yeah. So you can integrate, you can get APIs with a lot of these different apps, and you're basically scraping data and profiles and all these different things. So it's in development. It's early stage.
it's so exciting. It's scary to me, but it's exciting.
Yeah.
The end result is awesome.
Yeah.
But now you're raising issues like that go on with everything, like geofencing type
Right.
of stuff and all that. But okay, so at the end of the day, that people will have access to an app,
Yeah.
and what would they do? Download it like on the App Store?
Yeah, download it on the App Store.
Sure. Okay.
And then depending, you might want to fill out different filters of interests and likes. or you might
Oh,
not
so like a
want to.
questionnaire type of
Yeah.
thing, so that gets to.
Yeah, kind of like,
gets to
okay,
know
I like
you.
this, I don't like that, right? Or you don't have to. You can just go into what's in my general area. I'm looking on this date.
So it's geographic based.
Correct, yeah. So you'll say within 5 miles of me, 10 miles, 100 miles, on this date range.
Wow, that's so exciting.
Yeah, we'll see,
Yep. Well, you know better than anybody. It's people often go, "Wow, this is a real cool app," but they don't understand what went on from the logistics of building and the technology, the marketing, the
Yeah, right.
the
Well,
rollout.
today, you couldn't have done this historically, without spending a tremendous amount of money. But now with AI, it's a perfect example. What we're talking about is, you can empower this army of agents,
Army of
artificial
agents,
or,
yeah.
intelligence agents that go out and do the things that you would normally have to have a person do.
Right. So can you imagine, like you said, if you had a marketing team, a technology team, a rollout team,
Right.
building team, I mean, X number or whatever, like you said, that would be like cost prohibitive, never mind.
Oh yeah, extremely. Yeah. But now, if you're creatively, thinking about things and proactive, you can do so many things with AI.
So back to the app though. So it's geographic specific. Can you like ask it anything though? Like, does it have to be by town or can you do area, by state?
Yeah, you generally would do radius.
Oh, radius.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way we're filtering it now.
Okay.
But you could say, hey, I'm going to be, this is assuming that we roll it out in Boston, it's successful, and then we'll roll it out in other cities around the U.S.
Oh, okay. So you're going to start in Boston.
Yeah.
So you could say like, this Sunday or this weekend I'll be in downtown.
Cambridge,
Yeah,
right.
Cambridge.
Yeah,
What's
going
there to
on in
do
Cambridge?
with? Can you like make it specific? Like, well, you said likes and dislikes. Like for small kids, like what can I do
Yeah,
with my
family
children?
friendly,
Family
yeah.
friendly. Could
Yeah.
be restaurants. It could be anything.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, typically not restaurants.
Okay.
That's like open table and resi
Okay.
and stuff.
All
But It's
right.
more activities
Activities.
and experiences, of which there's tons.
Right. And I assume, that once that knowing you're going to track data and analytics, you'll be able to add on, delete, subtract, go sideways, go up, go whatever. And
Yeah, I'll give you another example. Is,
Yeah.
There's tons of lectures that go on all over the place.
yeah,
Right? And you probably don't know about them.
no.
But I'm sure there's speakers that come to the greater Boston area that you'd be really interested in hearing. But unless you're proactively out looking for them, you're not going to be made
No
aware
way.
of when they come to
How
town.
many times do we go, oh, I didn't know that this
Exactly.
person was going to be in town. Oh, I would have loved
I
to
would
have.
have loved to have gone to that. Yeah.
So that's going to be the hub.
That's the plan.
What are you looking at for time frame
So right now we're targeting probably a June rollout.
of 2026?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And how can people get access to this? Like, how can they,
You download on the Apple Store.
and how will they know what to download? Basically,
Yeah. We've got to market it,
all right.
And we're
Because I want to
working
get
on
that
it.
out there too. That's
Oh, yeah.
that's huge.
Look, you'll be. I'm going to be reaching out to everyone I
Good.
know.
Well,
to
so that's the other
promote it.
point, right? Reaching out to everyone. How
Yeah.
important do you think it is to collaborate, network? A lot of the things that the younger generation I find or I'm finding, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but we'll have you on again to talk about technology again. But I'm finding that, the younger generation is having a hard time having a face-to-face conversation
Right.
because they're hiding behind their phones, they're texting, they're using Snapchat, they're doing this, they're doing that, which again, pluses and minuses, like we just said, but, not the best communicators in the world.
No, and that might be the new norm. I don't know, but I would tell you, you can't beat face to face.
At the end of the day, we're humans, right?
Seeing someone, touching them.
I mean, you and I haven't seen each
sharing
other in a long
stuff.
time. It's like, hey, two
Yeah.
Italians with the big hugs. And I feel like, we may not have seen each other in a few years, and it feels like yesterday. You can't get
Right.
that behind a screen.
No, you can't. And to build bonds, to do it online, it's just, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a generational thing, but I don't think it's the same as when you spend time with someone in person.
Yeah. So let me ask you this as we're winding down to the last couple of minutes here. Two questions. And again, advice maybe to some parents. If you could give first question, if you could give some advice to parents to give their kids that might be going juniors in high school, like your daughter, who might be, maybe struggling to kind of navigate like what's next, like with technology, with with what am I going to do? Where am I going to go to school? I'm nervous about this. Or like your older daughter who's now looking at her sophomore to junior, like, what am I going to do when I get out? What is it that they can do? Because you have a lot of qualities. Again, we started this a while ago with your father and his entrepreneurial mindset, whether you've thought a lot about it or not. But you've got a skill set and a mindset that's not conventional. So, what can you say to parents who have kids, boys, girls, that are going through these stages of their lives, trying to figure out their next move? What would be the bit of advice you'd give to the parent?
Look, I'm going through that right now.
Right.
I've got a junior in high school and a sophomore in college, and you know, I think the advice that I try to give to my kids is just to be open-minded and work hard, but try different things. And I think today, so many people feel like you got to pick this, you got to go down that road, you got to do that.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I know with my kids, I hear that from their friends because they're like, well, they've got this internship, or they're going to do this, or they're going to do that.
Here's
I'm
the
like,
track.
Yeah, and I'm like, look, you know what? Who knows where life's gonna, direct you, and just work hard. Be open-minded, and try to learn and be exposed to different things. And if you find something that you're interested in, pursue it. Don't like I made the mistake of trying to go after money for years, and I worked jobs that I didn't really like, but I just worked hard. And if I had gotten into something that I really enjoyed, and I had the hard work ethic, I think I've had a good path, but I think if you do what you love, and the whole passion thing, I think gets overplayed, but do something that you're interested in and work hard, and things will work out.
Okay, second and last question and you've kind of already covered this with the advice you just gave, but what about giving back? You and I have had some great opportunities, and we've been dealt a pretty good card, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned mentoring, you mentioned people in your life that have had a big impact on you, and I'm a big impact guy, just like I know you are, because at the end of the day, we're in an area of our lives where we're not getting younger, we're getting older, and we want to create a legacy and all that stuff. What about service or giving back or mentoring? Like, how important do you think that is that we pass that on?
I think it's important, and I think that I think there's a variety of ways you can give back in life. I think you can do it formally through philanthropic organizations.
Yep.
I think you can do it one-on-one. You can mentor people. You can help people. But there's also other ways you can be a good friend, be a good father. Be nice to people that you interact with in the street. Maybe tip a little extra. The small little things.
Yeah.
I think on a day-to-day basis, try to be a positive, energy in the universe. Your day-to-day, I think that's a form of giving back. It's not
agree.
just like, okay, well, I'm on this board, or I gave this amount of money.
Check. Yeah.
Yeah, I think being a positive, member of society is a way of giving back.
Yeah, and I also think that positive energy creates positive energy, and that way you're helping them in general. Great having you on this show, Charlie. Great to see you, and I hope you'll consider coming back again, because we got a lot to talk about, and you're a very interesting guy. We look so forward for that app to be released.
Well, I wish you the most success with this podcast, and I know you'll crush it like you do everything else.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Great to see you.
Bye-bye.